Unlike most belts, this Alaska belt buckle is breathtaking. It is a substantial, large belt buckle containing 5 troy ounces of gold, with gold nuggets soldered onto the gold base.
A belt buckle. It's rather large. Of course, I threw it on the scale. You almost broke my scale.
The buckle likely dates back to the Alaska pipeline days, and it features intricate embellishments, including twist wire. As seen, its riveted construction indicates high craftsmanship. The mastodon or mammoth tusk element, initially mistaken for wood, is a distinctive Alaskan material. Its buckle's frame is finely engraved, adding to its quality and care.
So nuggets are a little more sought after. Gold was discovered early on in Alaska, actually by the Russians in the Kenai River area in 1849.
Alaskan gold nuggets, typically 90% pure or 22 karat, enhance this belt buckle value of
$20,000 to $40,000.
That's a little more than I was thinking.
Nice. Very nice.
Not a bad return.
Without even looking too much at this beautiful painting, many of us could relate to the scene depicted on the canvas. The piece of art was created by Andrew Loomis. The painting was done in the 1930s at a time when oil paintings were in demand.
There were companies who worked with Coca-Cola, Lucky Strikes, Kellogg's, all those sort of things. But this one was probably done for a magazine.
It depicts a boy in trouble, which is a relatable scene for most and definitely increases its value. What's special about Andrew is that he didn't start out as a painter.
He wrote a series of books, how-to books. The first one was Fun with Your Pencil, I believe it was called, and that was published in 1939. So these books were really, really popular.
So for a painting that's well detailed and appealing like this, it would retail at the auction value of
$4,000 to $6,000.
Nice. Very nice.
Not a bad return.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's a pretty good investment for...
The painting not only portrays beauty, but also evokes a sense of tranquility. The guest purchased a Raymond Johnson painting for $40 at an estate sale to remember their New Mexican background. The appraiser acknowledges Johnson, an American artist who founded the Transcendental Painting Group, and moved to Santa Fe in 1924. The painting, titled Arroyo No. 3, dates from 1922, likely has its original frame and inscriptions featuring Johnson's signature symbol. The guest explains that an arroyo is a land feature in the desert, where rain flows through a low area between 2 high areas, making for a striking sight. The appraiser admires the colors and depictions of the painting and was amazed that the guest bought it for only $40. The guest shares their hobby of collecting items from garage sales since childhood, buying things they like and can afford. The appraiser praises the painting as a great example of Johnson's early work, emphasizing its New Mexico theme. The guest did not have the painting insured and only realized its potential value after seeing the title on the back. While estimating the worth of the painting, the appraiser said,
$30,000 to $50,000.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's a pretty good investment for...
Owning a collection of posters from World War II is remarkable. Today's guest has had a collection of 70 World War II posters in her closet for over 20 years. Out of the 70 posters, she brought the 4 that stood out in particular. These posters vary greatly, with some being more artistic and rare than others. Among the selected posters, 3 are American and 1 is British, with 2 signed by famous artists.
The one on top is Jean Carlu, who was in fact a French artist working in America during the Second World War. Interesting to note, as a graphic designer, he only had 1 arm.
Out of the 2 American posters signed by famous artists, one features a powerful design, while the other depicts a war-weary machine gunner.
Whoa.
It shows a war-weary machine gunner at the front lines. He's in the heat of battle, and the idea is don't let him run out of ammunition when he needs it the most.
The 3rd American poster is designed to generate hostility against the enemy, featuring a provocative image of a swastika and a Bible. The British poster references Winston Churchill's famous speech about the Royal Air Force during the Battle of Britain. At auction, these war posters, each with its own significance and story, would individually fetch
between $500 and $750.
Golly.
The British one, on its own, between $1,500 and $2,000. The Norman Rockwell, $1,000 to $1,500. The Carlu is, I think, the best of the lot. At auction, I would estimate that between $2,000 and $3,000.
In the 70s, the lady found a $750 sculpture in a gallery and arranged to pay for it in installments over 6 months. When she finished paying, the owner surprised her by offering to buy it back for $1,100, but she declined the offer.
Good story to go along with it.
Did you know who the artist was, or he told you what
He told us who the artist was, but I never had heard of him before.
The sculpture was crafted by Harry Bertoia, a master of mid-century modern design. Bertoia's journey from Italy to America led him to create iconic furniture and mesmerizing Sombiont sculptures.
Copper. These are called sonambient sculptures, and they were made to produce sounds. And he made them in hundreds of different variations. Later on, and they're very, very similar. So sometimes his works get mixed in with Harry's work.
Sculpture, standing 6 feet tall and weighing only 40 pounds, was acquired by the guest in Montreal in 2007. Believed to have adorned the German Olympic Village during the 1976 Olympics, with a few signs of wear but no significant damage, it could fetch.
But this work in a gallery would be between $20,000 and $30,000.
The guest acquired a painting at a local estate sale company for $4,300. It's painted by George Rodriguez, known internationally as the Blue Dog artist. The remarkable piece dated back to 1969 when Rodriguez was around 25 years old. The painting was titled A House in Washington and was done early in the artist's career. The appraiser provided background about Rodriguez, who was a successful commercial artist. The particular painting depicted a classic Creole cottage with foreground trees covered in Spanish moss, showcasing Louisiana bayou landscapes. The painting is signed by Rodriguez and is titled on the back, with a George Rodriguez stamp on the stretcher, authenticating it. It is in its original frame, which adds value, despite some crazing in the painting. The appraiser suggests that conserving the painting could further enhance its value and quality. Given the current condition, the appraised value was...
Its current condition, I would say maybe $12,000 to $18,000 would be an appropriate and possibly conservative auction estimate. It's a wonderful example of Louisiana painting.
This remarkable bronze carving stands out from the ordinary. Dating back to the 1860s, it's a captivating work of art crafted by the Russian artist Nikolai Lieberich. His significance in history lies in his role during a pivotal transition away from academic sculpture. The carving vividly captures the everyday life of a hunter on horseback. Interestingly, the guest acquired this piece from her mother's house. Now, as for its retail value, it would be approximately
$20,000 on a retail setting.
Wow.
This is a collection of Art Deco artwork related to railroads created by the artist Burn Hill. These artworks were originally featured on the cover of the Railway Age magazine between 1950 and 1956. Burn Hill's art was not well received by the people at the electromotive plant because he emphasized background details rather than focusing solely on locomotives.
From what I understand, Hill liked to try to capture the essence of a railroad in his scenery.
Interestingly, all this artwork was discarded by the company, but later rescued by others. This collection includes both original artwork and posters created based on the artwork. One of the artworks is hand-signed by him, as some of the others are. Notably, the images are unique and showcase various styles, including a modernist design with a bridge's shadow, European-style scenes, and serene pastel depictions of the Southwest for the Santa Fe Railroad. Overall, this collection is exceptional and intriguing for art enthusiasts. At auction, the original studies would sell for
$3,000 to $4,000 a piece.
The little train portraits for
Between $1,000 and $1,500 a piece.
and the 12 posters for
$24,000.
bringing the collection price to about $42,000.
These aren't cards used to play a card game. On the contrary, they are pieces of art created by Peruvian-American artist Alberto Vargas. Alberto was famous around the 1940s and 1960s, with his works being published in magazines, posters, and featured in movies.
He was very famous in the 1940s. He worked with Esquire magazine. He had an incredibly long and varied career.
He was known for painting sexy images, such as the ones depicted on these cards. What's more appealing about these cards is that they were designed around 1953, and yet have still maintained top quality. For this reason, and given the bragging rights of Alberto, these cards would be worth
$500.
Wow.
Featured on the show is a vintage clock that exudes elegance and sophistication. The clock was gifted to this guest by a friend of hers in 1993. Commonly referred to as the banjo clock, the clock was made by Simon Willard. Willard was a celebrated American clockmaker.
He was quite the inventor, actually. He experimented with a number of different forms of clocks.
He started producing clocks like this one in 1802, and near the base of the clock, we can discern the maker's name on the glass. On the clock's dial, the numbers are in Roman numerals, and there are 2 hands. The clock also boasts sidearms crafted from brass. Reverse-painted Aigle-Mosaic glasses were used in the making of this piece. It also came with an original crank. However, the finial at the top has been replaced. Although the finial has been replaced, the clock is in remarkably good condition, placing its auction value at
$50,000 to $60,000.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm very surprised.
We have here a bronze dog sculpture by the sculptress Anna Hyatt Huntington, who is from Connecticut. She was a friend of the guest relative, and that's how this piece came into possession. Anna Hyatt Huntington was one of the leading American sculptors of the early 20th century, and she specialized in animal sculpture. The dog was named Echo, and this sculpture is beautifully modeled. There's a lot of details on this piece, with a wonderful patina. It's an extraordinary large-size piece with great quality and a personality. At auction, this piece would sell easily for
$20,000 to $30,000 range.
and an updated price of $30,000 to $40,000.
Immerse yourself in the beauty of German craftsmanship with this collection of relief-carved plaques, showcased by our guest on the show. These items have been in the guest's family since 1921, when her great-grandfather produced them.
Way better than average because of the way he did the mountains, the way he did the people's faces, and everything is so animated.
This interesting-looking plaque dates back to circa 1870 to 1880. One of the plaques depicts a river scenery with people rowing a boat with a Norwegian attached. And at auction, in such great condition, this piece would fetch.
On this large one, we'd be at about $1,000 to $1,500.
Okay.
Another plaque showcases a scenery of trees. Interestingly, these animated pieces still retain their original finish and frame. Given the condition and the rich history of the guest's family, the other 2 plaque items would accrue, at auction, a value of.
And each one of these would be about $400 to $600 each,
Very nice.
Very good. Very surprising.
A beautifully carved clock from the 1880s, found in a French barn, hides a surprising value. In the early 60s, the guest's parents were stationed in La Rochelle, France. When the guest was about 10, they found a beautifully carved clock in an old barn while antiquing, and convinced their parents to buy it. The appraiser admires the clock's intricate carvings of leaves, birds, and acorns, comparing it to eye candy. The guest initially guessed the clock was from Germany's Black Forest around 1900, but the appraiser suggests it might be French. This is based on the porcelain number tiles and the square shape of the clock's movement, which are typical French features. The clock also has detailed brickwork on the back, a unique aspect if placed in front of a mirror. The clock has worm damage when it was first bought, but the guest managed to get rid of it. The appraiser notes that cleaning caused the color difference. Despite this, the clock, possibly made of walnut or alder, is very attractive. While praising the clock, the appraiser said,
$3,500.
Very good. Very surprising.
Illuminate the past with this pair of vintage candlesticks. This guest inherited the candlesticks from her great-grandmother. The pair of candlesticks was made by Robert Javi in the early 20th century. Javi was an American craftsman known for his high-quality metalworks. At the bottom of the pair, we can see an inscription of the maker's mark, while at the top is the bobâche, designed to keep the wax off the other parts.
The one thing about the Boba shirt that's interesting is that this is Jarvie's very basic stick.
The candlesticks were crafted from bronze and are in very good condition. Jarvie's work are considered rare, and at auction, this pair would sell for
Between $800 and $1,200.
Wow.
Collected during visits to baseball card shops, these cards hold special memories for the guest. The collection includes 2 of Michael Jordan, a 6-time NBA champion rookie card from 1986, and 1 sticker from 1987.
Jordan was a rookie in '84, but we deem the '86 Fleer cards his rookie cards.
The sticker, labeled Rookie, is particularly sought after by collectors. Also, the 1987 card with its distinctive gray border is also highly popular among card enthusiasts.
Cards have to be graded. They have to be ascribed a grade, and there's a scale, right? There's mint 10 or gem mint 10, and all the way down to nothing, to 1, and to poor, and things like that.
However, these Michael Jordan basketball cards are iconic, showcasing his early career and standing as a prized collectible that would auction for.
The values are starting to come down, still, I think, and we're talking insurance value. You can probably insure that one safely for $20,000 to $30,000.
Wow, I had no idea.
One of the weirdest combos presented. That's what we have here today in the form of a brick and porcelain figure. But these items aren't just the usual items you see every day. They were crafted by Longton Hall in the United Kingdom. Longton Hall has a long and well-known history because it started as the center of a thriving pottery industry. This porcelain figure is well made and has stood the test of time. At auction, the finely crafted figure would retail at the price of
£800, maybe £1,000. So she's a great thing.
Behold, a seemingly brass container of great beauty. The guest acquired this inkwell for an improvised use, to serve as her coffee table. After opening the inkwell, we see a compartment for pens and a glass liner, which reduces ink stains.
Okay.
It was made in Austria in the early part of the 20th century.
An innovative Austrian architect made this inkwell in the early 19th century. Joseph Hoffmann, co-founder of the Wiener Werkstatt, an organization of Austrian artists who produced various artworks.
They're very, very clearly marked. We see Hoffmann's monogram, which is a J and an H.
Looking closely, we see a carefully marked monogram of Joseph Hoffmann, JH, and other monograms such as Made in Austria and Wiener Werkstatt. What sets this artwork apart is not just its rarity, but the brass material it is made from, further pushing up its demand. And so at auction, this art piece could cost
$6,000, maybe even $7,000 range.
Oh man, awesome, awesome.
This guest, though, is not one of them, as she holds these treasured family items related to the Titanic disaster. Albert Caldwell, the guest's great-uncle, was a survivor of the Titanic along with his wife, Sylvia, and their baby. Clearly seen is a photograph of the family on the deck of the Titanic and a booklet written by Sylvia in 1912 titled, Women of the Titanic Disaster.
It's very touching. It starts with her rocking her baby, probably about August of 1912.
Capturing the stories and worries of the surviving women of the Titanic. Items regarding the Titanic are incredibly rare, with only a handful known to exist. At auction, these family treasures, with their rarity and historical significance to the Titanic disaster, would be worth
$7,500.
That's great.
Holy cow! Oh my gosh.
Looking at this item, it might seem like a piece of junk. But this is a 1st century headband fragment, which the guest's daughter-in-law found while cleaning out a relative's house. A 24-karat gold fragment was used to be part of a larger piece, featuring a scene sculpted in relief, known as repoussé.
It's done from the reverse side.
The back of this item is hammered, making it recognizable as a headband. Interestingly, a pendant was made out of this piece and is identified as Greek, evident from the carving showing.
King sitting down, and the maids are coming, and they're bringing another maid, and this is satyr with the tail.
This unique piece, made of 24-karat gold and featuring a sculpted scene, in today's market could easily go for
$8,000 to $12,000.
Holy cow!
One might wonder about the origins of this painting. This painting was created by a student of the guest's grandfather, an artist in New Orleans. The artist in question is Clarence Millet. Millet was born just outside of New Orleans in Hanville and struggled to find his career path. Eventually, Millet was discovered by notable painters Louis Oscar Griffith and Robert Grafton, and then attended Tulane and the Art Students League in New York, where he studied to become an artist. After leaving school, he created this oil on board in 1921.
On board. It's signed in the lower right. It's also dated what looks to be 21 for 1921.
The painting, set in a period frame, depicts a New Orleans country yard scene. In today's market, Millet's work is highly collectible, especially for New Orleans collectors, and would be estimated to be worth
$5,000 to $7,000.
Nice. Very nice.
This jewelry certainly makes a statement with its vibrant appearance. Our guest purchased the pendant through an online auction. Featured on the pendant are green garnets, and the center stone being a bullseye citrine. Both citrine and garnet are natural gemstones, lending the pendant an organic appearance. Fascinatingly, the piece was crafted by Tiffany & Company. It's worth noting that the pendant is in remarkably good condition. The works of Tiffany & Company are highly sought after. This places the auction value of this piece at
$2,000 to $3,000.
Oh, wow.
So,
Get up close and personal with the animal kingdom's most iconic quadrupeds, captured in these stunning prints. Our guest inherited these prints from her grandparents. These prints were made circa 1843 to 1848 by John James Audubon. Audubon was a French-American self-trained artist, naturalist, and ornithologist.
And this was really the last project that Audubon worked on before he died.
Peculiar to his works, these paintings are life-size and were painted on imperial folio papers. Depicted in the paintings are deer in their natural environment. Given that the paintings are large in size and also among the best works of Audubon, the painting of the fawn is estimated to be worth
About $8,500.
wow.
while the other painting depicting two deer would be valued at
$28,000.
Wow.
the most elaborate form of Civil War presentation sword. That's the first thought that comes to mind after seeing this beautiful sword. Swords like this one were given to highly respected soldiers during the American Civil War.
To Lieutenant Louis Beerwith by his Louisiana friends as a token of their esteem, July of 1864.
So it is a form of utter patriotism to its owner. Although the blade has a few condition issues, the sword is still finely made. The sword is called a statue hilt, and this is due to the grip of the sword, which is equipped with a statue. For a sword made in 1864, and due to the prominent event in which it was used, the sword today would auction at
$10,000 to $15,000.
Wow. Great.
And
This Beatrice Wood group consists of several exquisite ceramic pieces created by renowned artist Beatrice Wood, an American artist and studio potter involved in the avant-garde movement in the United States, and she was affectionately known as Beto. This guest's grandmother was close friends with Beatrice and frequently corresponded with her.
And my grandmother was as well. I believe they met in Hollywood, possibly in the 30s, attending I think it was a ceramics.
Beatrice, who came from a wealthy family, was a free spirit who pursued her passion for ceramics despite societal expectations. The collection includes a glaze, a bowl, and a self-portrait, and all three pieces in the group are signed Beto. As seen, these pieces exhibit her characteristic volcanic glaze, dating from the 1970s to the 1990s. However, these pieces showcase the work and creativity of a prominent artist, and at auction would fetch
In the $700 to $900 range.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
The guest brought two vintage Lalique pieces, each approximately 70 years old, for appraisal. René Lalique was a renowned jeweler and designer of the 20th century who later became a distinguished glassmaker. The appraiser confirmed the authenticity of the pieces, noting that they were made in 1924 and that the Lalique factory ceased production of them after World War II. The early 1900s marked the peak of René Lalique's career, during which he exhibited at the International Exhibition in Paris. The guest shared an interesting story about the clock, mentioning that he had purchased it from a woman who had inherited it from her grandmother in Australia. The appraiser mentioned that this clock came with different face versions, most of them featuring the letters ATO, which was the mark of a French company that made clocks. AETO also sold clocks made by Lalique, and this one bore the name of the realtors printed on it. The guest shared that he acquired the vase from a flea market after recognizing it was a Lalique vase. The appraiser revealed that this was a well-known vase known as Ceylon, named after the island of Sri Lanka in French. The vase was signed René Lalique at the bottom. The glass was not in very good condition, and it had about half an inch of chipped lip that may not be apparent at first sight, but it was indeed missing. To the guest's disappointment, due to the chipped lip, the appraiser estimated the price of this vase to be significantly lower.
Your Ceylon is not worth any more today than perhaps $500 at auction.
Oh, really?
Sorry to disappoint you.
All right.
The appraiser also mentioned a crack in the clock and estimated it to affect its value.
I would say that $800 is about a retail price. I would say today at auction, it would sell for perhaps as much as $500 to $700.
The guest brought a pair of dolls she received as a gift from the children of her elderly deceased friend. The dolls were designed by Georgine Averill, an American designer. Georgine Averill's designs were highly regarded in the doll collecting community. The dolls were produced in Germany. The dolls' German production adds to their value and authenticity. They featured intricate hair and glass eyes that could close. The staggering worth of the duo was a testament to the treasure's value, being estimated at
$1,500 for the pair.
Oh my goodness, I had no idea. A doll can be that valuable?
Early days of a famous star or icon is always something to behold, and that's just what this guest feels from owning the early concept posters of Elvis Presley. Presley was an American singer and actor known as the King of Rock and Roll. The posters are from Presley's earlier appearances before he became widely famous, and they are dated February 6, 1955.
We've got top billing, Fair and Young.
Yes.
And Elvis is all the way down here at the bottom, which is kind of hard for us to imagine now, all these years later.
Yes.
This particular type of poster is a very rare find, as there are very little of its type seen at auctions. At auction, this poster, with its rarity and significance to the early days of the King of Rock and Roll, would be worth
$10,000 and $12,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Even in this condition.
I never knew that.
Guest's aunt gave her this strange object, likely acquired in New York City in the late 50s or early 60s, but it wasn't liked by her family. It's definitely odd-looking, with sharp legs and a pouring spout.
Kind of pointed edge at the other side. So you wonder, what was this for? Well, it was actually a pouring vessel.
It was designed to heat wine and pour it out safely. This vessel was crafted with great skill and craftsmanship, likely owned by someone influential. It's made of bronze, cast from a clay model, and adorned with decorative elements. Green color indicates it was buried and oxidized as part of a tomb. Design includes a water buffalo with horns and a pictogram. These vessels are rare, and this one could fetch.
At auction today, a conservative estimate would be in the $10,000 to $15,000 range.
I'm going to be hearing from my cousins, I'm sure. Thank you, sir.
Portrait of Agnes Morningstar beautifully captures the grace and dignity of Native American culture. This piece was given to the guest's grandparents as a wedding gift, and it showcases Winold Reese, modernist style, and his empathy for the indigenous people.
Well, I know Winold Reese was a pretty big painter of the Blackfeet Indians.
The portrait, done in gouache and pastel on a Whatman drawing board, exemplifies Reese's talent and versatility as an artist.
Typically used as well, so this is very characteristic of his work. Well, but it's wonderful to have it with the letter. That's great.
However, this painting's provenance, accompanied by a letter from Reese himself, adds to its value of...
At auction, I feel pretty comfortable in giving it an estimate of $50,000 to $80,000.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's exciting.
Design and materials of this pendant and necklace, even without prior knowledge, suggests a poignant tale, hinting at their use for remembrance and mourning. Made of agate, yellow gold, black enamel, and natural pearls, this piece was likely worn by a Victorian-era woman.
This is Victorian-era mourning jewelry. The original owner, a woman, who wore it to remember the loss of a loved one.
The pendant's design reflects the phases of mourning, with black enamel symbolizing the initial period of mourning, white representing the transition, and the amethyst stone suggesting the eventual return to normal life.
First piece is pretty classic. You have a low carat gold, you have black enamel,
You have these nice drops, so it has a little bit of movement. It's not too stiff.
Despite its sorrowful purpose, this jewelry showcases the beauty and craftsmanship of the era that's valued at.
A piece like this today at auction would be $1,000 to $1,500.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome. Thank you.
A collection of sculptures was showcased, which the guest displayed in his library for the past 15 years. They were made by a Spanish sculptor, Miguel Barracal, who was known for his signature sculptural puzzles. The appraiser provided information about Barracal and mentioned that he passed away in 2006. Miguel Barracal gained international recognition for his unique style and mastery of form. The fabulous sculpting puzzles, signed by the artist, depicted intricate and innovative details. They discussed the pricing of the sculptures, with the smallest ones valued at around $250 each. The medium-sized one was valued at $400 to $500, and the larger ones were valued at $750 each in today's market. In total, the collection of Barracal sculptures is estimated to be worth
and that's at auction. So we have about $5,000 in these Barracal sculptures.
Oh my, I'm surprised. Woo.
The guest brought in a watercolor painting by Paul Salyer, a Kentucky artist. Salyer spent time on the Kentucky River, living on a houseboat and sketching and painting. He primarily created watercolors like this piece, which was typical of his work. The painting was titled The Blacksmith Shop on Elkhorn Creek. Elkhorn Creek runs through central Kentucky between Frankfort and Lexington. The painting depicts a rustic landscape with a blacksmith shop and a lush late summer scene. The artist captured the contrast between the green landscape and the fire and glow from the blacksmith shop. The painting was in good condition and was estimated at
$15,000 to $25,000 on it these days.
Really? Oh my. I'm surprised. Woo.
The guest bought this ring at a yard sale for $100, and this item was crafted by Eric de Kolb, an Austrian-born sculptor, jewelry, and fashion designer. This is a 14-karat gold ring made in 1965, featuring a sculpture of a figure on the top of the ring and also sculptures on the sides. The artist's name is engraved inside, indicating its authenticity. This 14-karat gold ring, with sculptures of figures all over, would be valued at about
$1,500. Oh, wow. Isn't that great? Yeah. I'm glad you went to the sale. Yeah.
The discovery story behind this Air Corps archive is intriguing. A chance find at a yard sale unveiling the remarkable journey of First Lieutenant Joe McClinton. Joe was a Texan pilot who left a vivid account of his World War I experiences in a 2-volume diary.
And when you get into diaries of military war, a lot of them are just boring, to be quite honest. Yes.
The diary provides a detailed account of his experiences, including photo reconnaissance missions and being shot at during dogfights. The archive also contains a letter from McClinton to his family, explaining what happened during his final mission, where he was shot down by 5 enemy planes.
He was in combat. That brings it up a little bit more.
Okay.
He wrote very, very well.
However, due to this archive's historical significance, McClinton's bravery and the vividness of his writing make this collection worth.
I would say a collection like this, being very conservative, is probably in the $5,000 to $7,000 on a $10 investment.
Yes, I'm ecstatic.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding. They just stand in the corner and...
Throughout history, walking sticks have been used by kings and important personnel, and these walking sticks closely resemble those used by royalty in earlier years. The sticks, due to their engravings, resemble a totem, but the carvings actually tell a story of where the wood has been. What's surprising about the canes is how intricately detailed they are and how they're still in top quality, despite being created in 1930. One of the canes here is called a puzzle cane due to the manner in which the engravings were made. At auction, collectively, these canes would retail at the price of
$14,000.
You're kidding. Mike. Oh my gosh, you're kidding. They just stand in the corner.
The guest brought a vintage bag in excellent condition and design. It was a beautiful bag and had all the bells and whistles. The bag featured intricate, handmade floral beadwork on both the front and back. It had a very appealing design. It had a minor condition issue, but had all the original components. The preservation of the original components, even if damaged, was more important than being replaced. It was considered museum quality due to the exceptional craftsmanship and condition. The bag's beauty, craftsmanship, and historical significance made it a standout piece, being valued at
$1,000 to $1,200. Just beautiful. Thank you so much.
The guest shared that the basket had been handed down through her husband's family in Wythe County, Virginia. The appraiser identified it as a fork-handled basket, a type that rarely survives. He estimated it to have been made around 1900. 1900 baskets were used for keeping laundry, storing vegetables and eggs, keeping cutlery, etc. To the guest's surprise and delight, he valued the basket at
between $2,000 and $3,000.
Oh my goodness.
The guest brought in 2 vintage posters from his family's clothing business dating back to the 1950s. The posters featured artwork by Joe Mora, a Uruguayan-born artist known for his illustrations of cowboys and Native Americans. One poster was an original 1933 print titled Sweetheart of the Rodeo, which was later adapted by Levi's for their advertising. The appraiser valued the poster at
$1,200.
The second poster, which the guest brought, had never been seen before by the appraiser. Despite its poor condition, it featured classic American imagery. The guest expressed a personal connection to the second poster's message, relating it to their own experiences in a small, struggling town. This beautiful and classical vintage poster was valued at
About $1,000 to $1,500.
Wow, that's wonderful. I like it because of what it says. We're in a dying small town, and this is very pertinent.
This unusual item looks like a foreign rug, but it is not. In fact, it's a type of bag called the Turkmen Shuval. Shuvals were used in the 19th century by Turkmen as storage bags.
From Turkmenistan. It's a Turkmen storage bag. It's not really a saddle bag. It was woven by a Turkmen subgroup known as the Yomuds. They're a semi-nomadic tribe.
The design on this particular Shuval is so attractive and appealing, and it shows the creative design background of the Turkmenistan people. It was created by a subgroup of the Turkmen called the Yomud tribe. The weaving material is wool on wool, which is very appealing. For a beautiful piece of Yomud creativity, this Shuval storage bag would auction at
$5,000 and $7,000.
Dollars?
Yeah, dollars.
Wow.
It's a really good piece. It's a nice thing.
My goodness, I had no idea.
Yeah.
What a weird collection to own. That's what most folks would say when they see this paperweight. The item is a blue snake paperweight of French origin. Paperweights were in demand during the 19th century, but this one in particular was more in demand for 2 reasons. The first is due to its blue glass, which earned it the name opaline, whilst the second is how the glass was coiled to make a 3D snake paperweight. Given these 2 features, coupled with the shine of the opaline, this snake paperweight would auction at
$2,500 to $3,500 on it right now.
How exciting.
Today, we have a collection of fascinating items acquired by this guest from junk shops and antique shops. The period during which these items were made spans from the 19th century to the early 20th century. Included in the collection are 2 pieces made by the Tiffany & Company. Some of these items have European origins, while others have American origins. Interestingly, many inkwell collections from this era feature intricate designs such as Art Nouveau and Art Deco, with geometric patterns and ornate designs. Due to their collective provenance, this collection would have a significant value.
$3,000 to $5,000. I'm going to hit some today.
If you were to talk about one of the top visual artists of the 20th century, there's no way this important American artist of the second half of that century wouldn't be mentioned. Andy Warhol. Warhol was an American visual artist, film director, producer, and a leading figure in the pop art movement. This screen print was commissioned by the Cincinnati Museum of Art, and it features the images of Pete Rose. Rose is an American former professional baseball player in the MLB from 1963 to 1986, most prominently as a member of the Cincinnati Reds. The item is a 4-quadrant painting and is duly signed by Warhol.
It's got 4 images of Rose at bat.
This painting, done by an artist at the top of his game at that time, and a baseball player also at the top of his game, is valued at
$30,000. Wow. So, really, very nice.
Present in table glassware of various kinds, this Bohemian glass decanter and stem set offers a special shine that is admirable. This glassware, possibly baccarat, features heavy giltwork and enameling.
In order to prove that, we would have to see the line drawings.
The set includes a handled decanter and a stoppered decanter, each with distinctive stoppers to differentiate them when removed. Originally part of a larger set, 9 pieces were unfortunately broken.
Originally, I had 27 pieces. My husband was helping me one day before a party, and he knocked a glass shelf out. Oops. And 9 of them broke.
But the remaining pieces are in perfect condition. Additionally, this decanter and stem date back to the 1870s or 1880s, and due to their lustrous property and unique design, these pieces would auction at
In the $4,500 to $5,000 range. Ooh. So I hope the oops wasn't.
Yeah. Well, he's an antique too, so I have to keep him.
It looks like a type of wardrobe, but this oddly shaped looking item is a commode. In modern times, commode has come to mean a toilet, but in earlier times and to antique lovers, it means an elaborate chest of drawers. This commode was retailed by a company called Goodwin & Company.
Founder of it, he was an Irish immigrant, and he was very prolific. At his peak, he was selling more than $1 million worth of furniture on an annual basis and employed up to 350 people.
Which was famous in the 19th century as a famed furniture dealer. The other item we have embedded in the commode is a lithograph. This lithograph is embedded on tin and depicts a shoe advertisement.
They were one of the earliest, and today the most desirable lithographers of advertising in the marketplace.
During the 19th century, lithography was one of the forms of advertising used. The commode and lithograph complement one another, and so at auction they would be worth
$2,000 to $3,000 in this condition.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's great.
Scottish creativity at its peak. That's what this agate bracelet is. These types of antique bracelets gained popularity in the mid-19th century, and it was largely due to Queen Victoria's love of Scottish jewelry.
And Scottish jewelry became all the rage in England because of Victoria's love for Scotland. This traditional Scottish jewelry, as we see in this bracelet.
The bracelet is finely inlaid with rare agate gemstones, which enhance the bracelet's appeal. The bracelet is distinct because most Scottish jewelry is made from silver.
It's a gold Scottish bracelet from about 1860 in its original case.
But this is made from high-quality gold, which is associated with royalty. Given the history of this bracelet in the royal family, it would auction at the estimated value of
$2,500, and that's more on the top end of what Scottish jewelry is worth today.
Royalty. That's the first thing that this uncommon vase communicates. We can see the superior shine from its surface. This vase represents the sheer expertise of the Japanese, and that's why it's called a Japanese Cloisonne Palace vase. The vase is called a cloisonne due to its enameling process.
Enamel material is placed in amongst metal strands on a body, on a bronze body, and then fired a number of different times to produce these wonderful colors.
There are dragons and floral engravings on the surface to enhance its beauty. At auction, this Japanese work of art in the form of a vase would auction at
$8,000 to $12,000 at auction.
The guest brought a chair owned by her husband's ancestor, General William Floyd. General William Floyd was a signer of the Declaration of Independence. The chair was a garden chair or garden Windsor from the 18th century America. It was made in New York in the 1790s, likely by William McBride, a renowned Windsor chairmaker. It had distinctive features of McBride's work, including the turning shape, bulbous shape, and tapered feet. The chair's original feet were remarkably well preserved, considering its age and outdoor use. The guest was thrilled to learn about the chair and planned to keep it in the family. Due to the chair's historical significance, craftsmanship, and value, the appraiser valued it at
He wrote down $10,000.
$10,000, okay. Are you surprised?
I am, and
Imagine having a piece from a sport that has been around since the ancient Olympic Games of Greece and is still very much loved and followed even to this present time. Well, today's piece is from that sport, boxing, and it's a signed picture of one of its greatest boxers, Muhammad Ali. Ali, born Cassius Clay Jr., was an iconic boxer known for his incredible speed, agility, and charisma, and he held the world heavyweight boxing title multiple times. Of note is the fact that his autograph and picture were signed before Ali had changed his name.
Phenomenal signature, incredible inscription. I see it, it's personalized to your father, which makes it even better for you.
It was a time when he was still called Cassius Clay. An incredible inscription, Ali's signature on this picture is truly phenomenal.
Inscription. I see it, it's personalized to your father, which makes it even better for you.
Although the signature is personalized, being a signature from one of the greatest, if not the greatest boxer ever, it would fetch
$1,500 to $2,000, and it's a wonderful, wonderful piece. It's one of the best Cassius Clay signatures I've ever seen.
One successful garage sale purchase, and our guest would have inadvertently parted with this masterpiece.
Interesting artist because he was actually a Confederate soldier in the Civil War.
Honestly.
She acquired it from her mother-in-law, who, in turn, purchased it at a farm auction.
My mother-in-law bought this at a farm auction, and there was several paintings in a box, and she just bought the whole box. I have no idea what she paid for it.
Renowned American artist William Aiken Walker is the creator and signatory of this oil painting. Walker was known for his genre paintings of African-American sharecroppers, a subject that resonated deeply with him. Additionally, he served his country as a Confederate soldier during the American Civil War. This painting, executed on the artist's board, dates back to the 1890s and portrays a subject typical of Walker's oeuvre. Despite its current state, with proper refurbishment, the original colors and effects of the painting will be restored, significantly enhancing its value to approximately.
In this market today, a painting of this size and type by William Aiken Walker would sell for around $10,000 at auction. So
You're kidding me.
Experience the allure of nostalgia encapsulated in this vintage portrait photograph. The portrait was purchased by a guest at an antique store. Visible in this photograph is none other than James Vanderzee. Vanderzee, an African-American photographer, is best known for his portraits of Black New Yorkers.
Father Divine was a social activist who promoted the cause of civil rights for African Americans.
Upon further inspection of this portrait, we can see Vanderzee's name along with the date it was taken. However, there are some important details visible in this piece, such as it being a sandwich photograph, as well as the highlights of the cloud and text around it. This piece is a significant part of African-American photography, and in its rare size, at auction, it would attract considerable value of
Would be in the area of $2,000 to $3,000.
For it? Oh,
Yeah,
snap.
so very cool thing.
The delicate intricacies and ornate patterns adorning this bronze figure are truly remarkable. The guest tells the tale of how she inherited it from her father.
My father then found it in an antique store on consignment from the grandchildren. My father was in the Army stationed in Heidelberg, and he loved bronzes.
Furthermore, the size of this bronze figure is just perfect, and it depicts a Japanese archer striking the pose of shooting an arrow. It was made in Japan circa 1890, and on the back of this piece, we see the name of the maker inscribed. Additionally, the casting on its face is very detailed, featuring an armor, a breastplate.
It's not the A+ quality, but it's very high quality.
The remarkable quality in the craftsmanship of this bronze figure is quite fascinating, with a lot of attention to detail, and at auction, this piece is estimated to be worth
I would insure this for around $15,000.
Oh my.
Today's piece is often tagged as a companion for children. It's a doll given to our guest by her aunt. This doll was made in Germany in 1910, when German dolls featured certain peculiarities.
It was during a period when German dolls had open mouths with little teeth and the eyes opened and closed, but this trend for a more character-looking doll.
A German doll company called Clay & Hahn was the maker of this doll, and they made the head of the doll from bisque. Although the doll looks to be in poor condition, it really isn't, and just features all of its original attire in their original state.
They're actually very nice for original clothes.
A piece of this quality, German-made, still with its original pieces, would be priced at,
In a retail shop, would be priced about $3,500 to $4,500.
Wow. Wow, oh, my aunt would be so surprised.
We can never stop talking about jewelry, and that is the case with this piece of jewelry from Siberia, given to our guest by her mother. The piece is not just an anyhow bracelet, but an 18-karat solid gold bracelet. Often typical of antique jewelry, this bracelet has no markings to tell where it was crafted.
Absolutely nothing on it to indicate a country of origin.
But it features a hinge with a catch. Beneath the buckles on the bracelet are engravings of flowers, with a crane and a swallow engraving on its back,
which was a favorite Victorian motif and a floral design.
This piece, made with 18-karat gold, is surely to be in high demand and would fetch a price of.
A bracelet like this would easily command $12,000.
How interesting.
This French brocade dress, dating back to 1776, was part of the guest's great-grandmother's trousseau.
No, and I've always wondered. She was an American and she married an American, and I'd assumed it was made in America.
Originally thought to be made in America, experts suggest it was likely crafted in France or England due to the intricate fabrics. It is reminiscent of what the last Queen of France before the French Revolution would have worn. The dress features a fitted waist, pannier skirt, and double ruffles on the sleeves, all meticulously hand-sewn.
Of course, because there was no sewing machine at that time, the hooks and eyes in the front, which would be beneath this area here, are replacements. But other than that, the condition of it is just amazing.
Given its exceptional quality, this piece of history, representing the elegance of its time, would be worth.
Today, I think in a really high-quality shop, it would sell from somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000.
Goodness. Well.
This 1964 copy of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is not just a cherished childhood book, but also a rare find.
Well, I was pretty amazed when we opened the book up and found the autograph in there.
Written by the renowned British author Roald Dahl, who was a poet, screenwriter, and author of popular children's literature, this book is one of his most popular pieces. Its value is further elevated by being a first edition.
Well, speaking of the colophon, this is the copyright page of the book, and on it we have the 6 lines of type that you mentioned, not 5.
The combination of its rarity, autograph, and condition makes this copy a highly collectible item that would fetch.
I would appraise your book at retail for between $5,000 to $6,000.
Wow, that is crazy.
Wonderful oil painting arrived at the appraisal table with a story, a precious item found at a flea market in Nacogdoches. This phenomenal artwork, crafted by Charles Taylor Bowling, a Texas regionalist who captured the essence of rural America.
He started painting kind of late in life. He worked as a draftsman and a civil engineer.
This incredible painting itself, titled West Texas Tank, offered a glimpse into Bowling's artistic vision. The oil-on-canvas scene, likely depicting a scene from its namesake region, was accompanied by a fascinating detail on the back. The original inscription by the artist with the title and a price of $35, presumably from 1940.
Many Texas collections. I would say his reputation is probably more local in Texas than maybe nationally.
The appraiser revealed their estimated retail value.
And I think if it were to be sold in a retail gallery, it would be about $25,000.
Really? No, I had no idea.
A sport that stands out among other sports for its sheer physicality is what today's episode is all about, with this archive from the University of North Carolina's football team. This archive from 1892 to 1895 was given to our guest by his wife's grandfather, who was called Willie Merritt. Merritt's picture is featured in one of the archives, along with a picture of a player using one of the first pieces of equipment for facial protection in football. Another piece of item in this archive is what the beautiful sport is all about, football. This type of football is called a melon ball or a rugby-style ball.
The bladders would barely last the full game. They're called a bladder ball.
And the final piece of this memorabilia is the jersey worn in the team photo. These types of jerseys were inspired by firefighter uniforms, a collection of memorabilia that takes us to one of the early days of one of the most watched and followed sports in the world would be insured at
for $25,000.
Wow. Maybe somebody in the family will be interested now.
Quite a wonderful and portable piece is what our guest has graced us with today. This piece is a pocket watch and was passed down through the generations. The watch's outer shell casing is made with turtle shell and has little nail heads on its designs.
Has these little nail heads, what we call piquet.
Inside this wonderful watch is another cover, and this cover is made of silver. Opening up the watch shows us details about where it was made. The outer part of the watch was crafted with a type of enamel panel that adds quality to its design.
We have these, what they call champleve enamels.
This piece is a fine example of a portable antique, and with the quality of its crafting, it would auction at,
I would say this would probably sell in the range of $8,000 to $10,000.
Wow.
Today's piece is an item used to provide light before the advent of electricity. The piece is a candlestick and was acquired by our guest. The candlestick is made of brass and was crafted by a woman called Jessie M. Preston. Preston was an American metalsmith whose art was characterized by organic and slender shapes in an Art Nouveau style.
And these you would have had cast at a foundry.
Okay.
They're signed right here, Jessie M. Preston, and we have the mark of the foundry, and that's the Anderson Foundry.
The design of the candlestick is geometric based and is signed on the underside.
They're from the arts and crafts period. They're probably from about 1905, 1910. They don't look like your usual arts and crafts pieces, and you usually see hammered copper or hammered wrought iron.
This candlestick was made through a process called sand casting, and typical of her style, incorporates Art Nouveau style while actually being from the arts and crafts period. This piece showcases detailed craftsmanship while looking very chic and modern, and would be auctioned at,
Probably bring between $6,000 and $8,000.
Oh, goodness. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Our guest's grandfather, a prolific art collector, purchased these etchings in New York.
1940s, 50s, and 60s.
He was buying art where?
In New York City.
How long had he had these before you got them?
These etchings are so rare and unique because they were created by two eminent artists, Rembrandt, the Dutch Golden Age painter, printmaker, and draftsman, revered as the greatest visual artist in history, and James Abbott McNeill Whistler, an American painter in oils and watercolor and printmaker active during the Golden Age. Two of the four etchings were executed by Rembrandt in the 17th century. One depicts a self-portrait, and the other is titled The Peasant Family on the Tramp.
Early 1800s, his name is Naudet. That's actually his name reversed because it's coming through the back of the sheet, and the date, which I believe is 1825 as I read it.
Whistler's etchings date from the 19th century. One captures a view of the Thames at Battersea, while the other is titled The Longshoreman.
On that same paper, probably a lifetime impression, not terribly uncommon.
Original pieces signed by these iconic artists of the 17th and 19th century, preserved in excellent condition, hold significant value, estimated to be,
That's going to have a replacement value at $80,000. So all told here.
This Japanese vase was purchased by our guest at a sale.
Yard sales, estate sales. I think it's from an estate sale.
And it is a remarkable example of enameled earthenware, satsuma, crafted during the Japanese Meihei period, primarily between 1880 and 1920. The vase is adorned with enameled wisteria motifs, stretching from the shoulder to the ovoid body, with delicate webs subtly intertwined behind the flowers. The rim is elegantly gilded, and the base bears a gilded mark, indicating it was crafted by the esteemed artist Yabu Mizan. Mizan is renowned as a Japanese imperial court artist, particularly famed for his mastery in painting on porcelain. As the foremost earthenware satsuma painter, his work is held in high regard and widely sought after. At an auction, will be estimated to be worth,
I would say a conservative auction estimate would be between $5,000 and $8,000.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe it.
Our guest brought two pocket watches to the show. These watches were given to her by her father. But of particular interest among the watches is the silver pocket watch. Although both watches are American-made, the silver watch was made by a famous company called E. Howard & Company, and this can be seen on the dial of the watch. Interestingly, the arrangements of plates and wheels in this silver watch
make watches so that they could be assembled by machinery and then sold relatively economically to a populace that could never have afforded a watch before.
was assembled in such a way that they could be easily produced. This silver watch,
made in comparison to maybe tens of millions made by Waltham and the other companies,
from one of the fathers of American watchmaking, is worth,
on the other hand, it's worth anywhere, let's say, from $1,500 to $3,000. A very collectible and desirable American watch.
memorabilia from the beautiful game of baseball is what today's show is about. These items are signed pieces from some of baseball's greatest. One of such pieces includes a home run baseball signed by a player from the Washington Senators.
This is a 1936 home run ball hit by Red Cress of the Washington Senators, and it's signed by all of the Senators.
There's also a signed pass given to our guest's father by the National Association of MLB Players. Probably the most awe-inspiring piece is the signed Babe Ruth picture. Babe Ruth. Ruth played in the MLB from 1914 to 1935 and is often considered the best baseball player ever. There's also a baseball signed by Babe Ruth and Roger Maris. Roger Maris was a professional MLB player and is best known for breaking Ruth's single-season home run record.
I watched Roger play high school football in Fargo. He was a great football player.
It can only be imagined how awesome it is to have a signed ball from two of baseball's finest. These items serve as a connection to the golden era of baseball and to some of its finest players, and as such, collectively would be worth,
basically is a package that's somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000.
The document portrayed today is important as it takes us back to a time when slavery was still a norm in the United States.
Some slaveholders in Frederick County to slaveholders in Montgomery County.
The document is a slave document in which we find two key witnesses, Roger Taney, who later went on to become the Chief Justice of the United States, and Francis Scott Key, who was his brother-in-law. This duo is known to be the key players who voted in favor of slavery, and this was apparent in Roger's writing of the Dred Scott decision.
Very controversial decision, a decision that Lincoln himself really thought was a terrible.
Even though this document was signed by key figures that were pro-slavery, this document would auction for,
I would appraise this at about $3,000.
Oh my, I'm totally surprised.
Well, good. We specialize in surprises here.
Well, thank you.